Welcome to the Meria Heller Show, on the net since 2000 and still going strong. If you feel like you're not getting the real news, if you feel like you're not connected spiritually, you have found your home. Meria covers a wide range of topics as only a snarky New Yorker can. Straight up, no chaser. No censorship, no corporate sponsors, thus true freedom of speech. Your subscription gives you unlimited access as a member of the smartest audience on earth. Relax and enjoy the education. Now here's Meria.
Good morning, world. Meria here, alive and kicking. Welcome to the show. Today my guest, my co-host is Bev Conover. She's the editor and a wonderful journalist in her own right of the Intrepid Report. So get over to intrepidreport.com where truth still lives. I want you to know that. I use a lot of her authors, a lot of her news stories on my news shows. And like myself, she's totally independent and dependent only on your support. So get over there and support real media before the crazy media drives us all insane. Good morning, Bev.
Good morning, Maria. Oh, God, I'm telling you.
Well, you know, I must be saying at least 10 times a day to people, to myself, when I talk to myself, may you live in interesting times. I don't know how much more. Right. I don't know how much more interesting it's going to get, even with the arrival of the murder hornets now in the United States. So I think about all the plagues in the Bible and how this fake Christian is supported by other fake Christians. And as soon as they elected their new golden idol, or should we say orange idol, America gets hit by plague after plague. I'm like, what's next? You know, is the water going to turn to blood? Is that next?
You know, it's just totally insane. Totally. Every day is like something else has popped up. He's done or said, or his gang is threatening they're going to do.
Well, it's like he's sucked all the.
Well, the whole concentration now is on the coronavirus. It's the other stuff that is not getting reported.
Right, exactly.
How they're planning to take over education with artificial intelligence. With a terrible thing called Project BEST, which stands for Better Education Skills Through Technology. Another horror. And then he wants to cut Social Security and Medicare. I won't even mention all the environmental mess he's making with doing away with clean water, clean air, clean earth. I mean, I'm just out of words. I mean, I'm totally just...
Well, I'll tell you what, looking at the level of intelligence in this country, you know, whether they're white male protesters with their guns spitting in the face of cops, at the same time cops are killing a black jogger, tracking him down like a dog, I think maybe artificial intelligence would be an improvement, because I'm not seeing too many signs of actual intelligence anymore.
Well, you know, they've been doing this to us for a very long time. And let's face it, Americans have never been in love with intelligent people.
No, look who we celebritize. You know, the worst among
going
us.
All the way back.
Right.
And if you think back, relatively short period of time, of Kennedy, when they made fun of Kennedy, the eggheads he put in various positions. Mm-hmm. This is what we're dealing with.
Well, now they have
a president. Then we went through the whole thing of academic freedom in the 1960s, which is another damn setup, except the kids who bought into it could not see it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we've been dumbed down.
Well, I think that, Americans can relate, at least 30% can relate to the idiot that we have in charge. And, you know, a lot of people say this started with Ronald Reagan, remember Sarah Palin, God, what was his name? The guy that ran for vice president, couldn't spell potato, I don't remember his name. And, George W. Bush, let's not leave him out, who's now trying to come out like a hero. And now they have the ultimate moron who has no conscience, no soul, no human empathy. He actually showed more empathy for Kim Jong-un being alive than he has for the 70,000 Americans that have died.
But as I said, he can't help it. And we've got to recognize that. And he's got to start being dealt with in that vogue. I mean, he needs to be gone.
I don't know that we can survive the next 6 months with this guy. And I'll tell you what, I saw a meme this morning on social media that says if Trump gets reelected, everybody better get armed. And you know what? That meme just struck me. And I was like, the way this country's going, I mean, it's like this guy wants a civil war. And now what does he want? An army of blue hairs? Does he want all us seniors to go around the White House and go crazy because he wants to cut pitiful Social Security?
I don't think he connects those dots. I really don't. I don't think anybody who's got oodles of money, and he doesn't, I mean, that's another lie, but your millionaires and billionaires, they do not connect to the rest of the people. They're in their own little world, and they don't get how people are suffering.
No, absolutely not. And I was reading a story in the news that a lot of these super rich people are going to their safety homes, their bunkers in New Zealand.
Uh-huh.
So, you look at all those underground cities they built for themselves, which are like skyscrapers built upside down. What do they think they're going to protect themselves from? And is that, people...
They cannot think. There's your problem.
Huh.
They don't think. They see to the end of their noses, but not beyond it. It's like all this nonsense about how great an economy we had until this coronavirus hit us. We did not have a great economy. We haven't had a great economy in damn near 40 years.
Absolutely. Well, I think the coronavirus proved that because most people, most Americans, which is a fact, don't have $400 in the bank for an emergency. They live paycheck to paycheck. People that somehow delude themselves into thinking they're middle class for the first time are on these massive lines for food banks. So this showed that it was only a great economy for the rich. And look how much money they've made off this coronavirus. Billions to the rich.
And, well, not just the rich, but the ones who are making 100, 200, 300,000 a year. They were okay.
Right.
But they don't connect to the rest of the people.
Well, but look at Congress. Well, you and I have had this discussion for years. We have a millionaire Congress, and a lot of them, some of them billionaires. How can they possibly represent the people?
They can't. They can't. Then you get somebody then like Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, who does relate to the people, and all they do is beat on her.
Right. But, I forget which founder it was that said, that we should never have taxation without representation. We have no representation, yet we're still taxed to death.
I don't.
So we're living in interesting times, but I want to ask you, because it's hard for me to even figure it out, Bev, and I've been at this for a long time like you are. This coronavirus, I don't know what to believe about it anymore. The stories change every day. I do know people who have lost family to the coronavirus, so I know it's a real virus. But when you look at the reaction, on both sides to this, the people that don't believe it, that want to just go on with their lives the way they do, there's a part of me that can kind of understand that. And then you look at the other side of the panicked people who want to stay sequestered for the rest of their lives. I don't really know what to make of it anymore. I mean, and the mainstream media certainly doesn't help because every day the story changes.
Well, first of all, you got a group out there who's trying to turn this into a conspiracy that either our government or the Chinese government or somebody or other loosed this thing on the public. Now, while our politicians are stupid, I mean, that's another issue. I don't think you're going to unleash something like this on the general public. As far as the only thing we can do is try to protect ourselves. Mm-hmm. I don't know if these face masks are doing anything or it's just another joke, to be honest with you.
Right.
I did have one. I tried it, and here I am. I'm breathing in my own carbon dioxide.
Exactly. Exactly. So how healthy can that be?
That's what I was wondering. I had to take the damn thing off.
Right. And when I go out and about and I see, especially the kids and the women that are working at the supermarkets, whatever, they're forced to wear the skin-tight black mask. I'm in Arizona, okay? Even in the mountains, it's going to be 88 today. They've already surpassed 100 in the valley in Phoenix. And I asked them, how comfortable is it wearing that mask all day? And they say it's super uncomfortable, but they have to wear them. But you're breathing back in your own carbon dioxide.
Right. I had the thing on, and I left the grocery store I was in, and I'm going across the parking lot. And I'm saying, what the hell's going on here? When I have such a difficult time breathing, I'm going, well, you're sucking in your own carbon dioxide.
Well, I'm
so
sure.
I had to take the thing off.
Well, and I'm sure that
I'm glad I'm not in a state where this is a requirement that you have to wear them in public.
Right. Well, here in Arizona, people, they choose, okay? But I do see, I want to say it's gotten worse, actually. There's more people wearing masks now than when this started.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But what's interesting is, it's still, up to the person, it's choice. People are just by themselves observing social distancing, even when I'm out, which I think that's a good thing all the time, okay? I don't really like anybody in my personal space unless they're invited.
Right.
But, the fallacy of, put anything over your face, who was that masked man? That's all I think about these days. The first day I was walking with my granddaughter and I saw people approaching with masks on. I said, bandits. And I said, who knows how many people hold up banks now, and who would know because everybody's wearing a mask.
Well, what's funny? A neighbor has put me on to Aldi. I never thought much of it until I finally broke down and I went in. And they have some very interesting things, very good stuff, imported chocolates from Germany and Belgium. And anyhow, I was in there Friday. When I got there, they had a girl outside wiping down carts, and they had this long line of people, which they were about 6 feet apart. They were not, in order to go into all these, another customer had to come out.
Oh, yeah, there was a girl, right.
Not the worst.
Right.
They put up the plexiglass at the checkouts, but they were smart. They put it behind the credit card thingamabobbies.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Monday I went up to Winn-Dixie, which is on the other side of the county. People were not staying away from each other. They have a kid wiping some carts, sort of. Very few face masks. And even the store employees, the young guys who were doing the restocking, they were all huddled together. And I'm saying to myself, whoa, this must be the stupid side of the county or something.
Well, but you got to look at when Trump is holding his pressers, if you want to call them pressers, they're all together on the stage. They're all basically been on top of each other. They're not wearing masks. So what kind of example is he setting?
I don't know.
He puts the rule in place and then he goes, he came to Arizona where, trust me, most people I know did not want him here. Goes into a factory where everybody's supposedly making masks, Honeywell. Everybody's got masks on and he's the only one without a mask. Then you got the Christians in the Republican Party who said, it's God gave me this face. It's the image of God and I can't cover up the image of God. Well, then why wear clothes? Yeah. I mean, do these people know how stupid they sound? But, they never talk about God maybe having been the one to send this plague because they were all so full of crap. It's always blamed on the gays or, their usual suspects. But it's insanity. And truthfully, you get to the point where you don't know what to do.
Well, I try to keep my distance. This is not something new with me. When I'm out in public, especially during flu season and that, if I hear somebody sneeze or cough, I get way far away.
Mm-hmm.
And so far I have avoided even getting the flu shut my mouth. So, what can I say?
Right. Well, I was reading this morning that now Jared Kushner is also now in charge of developing the vaccine. Okay. I don't even understand how this country's okay with, I think at the last count, 3,000 ethics breaks from Trump. How does he get away with it? They softened the law for him to sit in front of the statue of Abraham Lincoln and spew his hate and say that he's been treated worse than Lincoln.
Isn't that awful?
I mean, everything in the government is letting this guy get away with everything. And where are the Democrats? Where's Nancy Pelosi been? Is she on vacation?
I don't know. It's just, as I said, it's just total insanity.
I know.
And they keep treating him as though he was normal, but, he's a little out of control, so he just have to curb himself and behave himself and do his job. Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Tell me another.
Right. I mean, that's the other problem.
One gal I know that she's an engineer, so she has education. She floored me when she flipped out for Trump. And she's still for Trump. She thinks he's going to end the wars.
Huh.
He's going to put Israel in its place. Meanwhile, what's he do? He moves the embassy to Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
He says it's okay to grab the Golan Heights. And now he's going to help them grab the good chunk of the West Bank. I'm saying to myself, what is wrong with her? Can't she see this? Besides all the other horrible things he wants done or is doing.
It's hard to understand. I could understand in the beginning people that weren't from New York, who didn't know what a dirtbag Trump is and has been his whole life, voting for him. What I can't understand is anybody still defending him.
Well,
it's more than my brain can compute. And I told you before the show, I have people in my own family who live in Florida who think he's a genius. Look how smart he is. I can't even talk to my own sisters because of this. Because
smart.
I said, I think to myself, they used to be so smart. What happened?
What about all the bankruptcies?
Oh, I think we're going to see gazillions after this.
I'm talking about his.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I told people
don't see that?
Well, I told people he would bankrupt the country the same way he did his businesses. So there's a prophecy fulfilled. And my sense was as soon as they've drained every dime out of the Treasury and whatever they could steal from us, they would say, okay, everything's better, go back to work.
No, I can't hate the man. I don't even know if I should try to pity him because I don't even think he understands that. No, he's got problems, big problems.
He's got big mental problems. I mean, what are they waiting for to say, all right, it's time for the 25th Amendment? What else does this guy got to do? Does he literally have to shoot somebody?
The people around him, they'll never use the 25th Amendment. He should have been impeached or convicted and ousted.
Right, so this is all on the entire GOP. The whole Senate is responsible for these Americans that are dying, and they're going to continue to die, for the crash and all the people on unemployment, the people now for the first time on food stamp lines, but, food banks. So somebody at Paz, I think it was Malcolm Nance this morning, who said that, hundreds of thousands of Americans should file lawsuits for wrongful death against Trump. I mean, what option do people have? Mitch McConnell doesn't...
But then he packed the court, so where's that going to go?
It's going to go nowhere because he owns the courts.
And you got Ruth Bader Ginsburg, unfortunately, back in the hospital.
I know. Well, supposedly she was in there
That's
for...
That's scary, isn't it?
I said last night, I actually sent prayers for her. And I said, please let her live at least another 6 months. Because if he puts another one of his wackos in there, now that's another issue I wanted to talk to you about. Supposedly now investigations are going to start against Mitch McConnell for packing the courts. But then the ultimate decision goes to John Roberts. What do you think he's going to do?
Oh, God. Can you say that we are in a mess?
A mess. I told you this is FUBAR, worse than any old war movie I ever saw. And when they use the expression FUBAR. On every level. I mean, I can't even see how this is going to shake out. I keep telling, like, my family, my own real family, my children and my grandchildren, I keep telling them, don't make long-term plans. We have to see how this shakes out. We have to see what they have in store for us when this shakes out, because it's hard to tell. You know, there's so many who benefits on this. This might take 5 years to figure it all out. So here's another question for you. The demonization of Dr. Fauci, who people believe is getting the axe with Trump, you know, downloading the task force, the coronavirus task force, in the middle of the worst part of the epidemic. What are your thoughts on Dr. Fauci?
I don't know. Several articles I have refused to publish because they were accusing him of all sorts of things. I spent too much time trying to do some digging, and I could not verify any of this. I see more this morning, but I know it's coming from a right-wing website. So I don't know what to say.
Right. Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Clean or he's dirty or what? I don't know.
Right. Well, the only thing I could say is this guy's been doing this since he's young. He's 79 years old. You know, I'm sure he probably was wishing he retired 10 years ago. But I would take his word over Trump's, but then I would take the word of a frog over Trump's.
Yes, I mean, he's right. This thing is going to come back probably with a vengeance.
Well, now they say this.
Opening up all this stuff.
Right.
Georgia, which opened up stuff, they've got problems now with the virus is going haywire.
Well, look at Texas.
What I really had to laugh about when Trump was at the Honeywell plant in Phoenix yesterday, and across the loudspeaker system came the song "Live and Let Die." Most of your so-called journalists did not understand that. Actually, that was the workers, in my opinion, and the union, if they have a union, bashing on Trump.
Right. Well, that's Trump's attitude. He lives, we die. So that's his attitude. But, you know, listen, when he said this today, you know, one of the things I was reading is Jared Kushner's now going to be in charge. And I think about Dr. Bright, the whistleblower, who is, you know, got fired by Trump because he actually knows his job and didn't agree with hydroxychloroquine as the cure. I mean, it's crazy stuff. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. Now Jared's going to be in charge of this too, like he is in charge of the Middle East peace treaty and all this other stuff. That guy is useless. He's as useless as tits on a bull. All right, so here we go with the mainstream media. Here's another opinion I want from you. No big fan of Joe Biden. One woman comes out, unproved. The Republicans are refusing to release the records because there probably aren't any. One woman comes out against Joe Biden, whether it's true or not. From what I've read and what I feel, I believe it's a BS story. You know, she's accused many people in her life of the same thing. You know, her father's novel reads the same.
This is the part that's not getting really big reporting.
Right.
Her history.
Her history is she's like a crazy person. Okay, and she's in love with Vladimir Putin. Let's not leave that out. She's had multiple names, multiple aliases. Now she's saying she never filed a complaint. She never made it a sexual complaint. Whatever, okay? True, false, who cares? One claim against Joe Biden, the media is going wild. 30 plus.
You know what my question is? If this really happened, why was she silent when he was chosen as Obama's running mate?
Exactly. She had 8 years while he was vice president to say something.
Well, she could have, during the period he was being vetted once they announced he was going to run with Obama. Where was she then?
Right. At least Stormy Daniels came through right before the election.
Because, I mean, if something had happened to Obama, Biden would have been president.
Exactly. But now you've got 30 plus women, and that one woman he molested in the clothing store, who's been demanding his DNA for months. Trump's too busy, he said, to give his DNA because she obviously saved the dress with the DNA on it. And where's the media on this story? Where's the media on, the countless women that he's molested?
Well, I didn't see the program. I guess, what's his face? The one who was on before Rachel. Oh, God.
Muir?
You know who I'm talking about.
Was it the Muir interview?
No. On the MSNBC last week.
Oh, I don't know. Oh,
Chris, what's his name? He's Rachel follows his program.
The kid with the glasses, right?
Yeah.
Can't remember his last name either.
There we go.
God.
I rarely watch his program because, as far as I'm concerned, he speaks too loud and too fast, but that's another issue. But I gather from afterwards, he went after Biden with with a hatchet. And I know there's been a lot of calls now for him to be fired over this.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, Biden certainly wasn't my first choice, but at this point, Trump's lowered the bar so much, Charles Manson would look good at this point. So, I think with Biden, people just see him as a return to somewhat normalcy. I don't remember ever hearing a president all day long, every day for 4 years. I mean, this guy is such an egotist, or loves to be in front of the camera. If I had a face like his, I'd do radio. And I do radio, by the way. But people are weary. Our souls are weary. We can't take it anymore. Don't they get that Americans are confused, disgusted, exhausted, and broke?
I don't know. Chris Hayes is the guy I was thinking of.
There you go, Chris Hayes.
Yeah, on MSNBC.
I try not to watch too many of them because I don't like their opinions coloring my take on the news. So I've always been a little careful. I got to tell you, though, I do watch who Trump had time to spend yesterday tweeting against Seth Meyers and Stephen Colbert. We're in the middle of so much deep caca, and he's ripping on Stephen Colbert and Seth Meyers, saying they have no talent, blah, blah, blah. What kind of crazy president do we have? I mean, there's no one safe. I'm sure you saw the rip he did on Nicole Wallace. There is not there's not a woman governor. There's not a woman pundit. There's not any woman in the world that he doesn't disrespect.
Well, as I said, it's beyond him to do anything about it. He cannot. It's just not in him.
Why doesn't he just resign? Why don't they make a deal with him and let him resign?
How are they going to make a deal with him? You can't make a deal with him.
That's true. He breaks every deal.
You can't trust him. He'll tell you one thing one minute, then he'll go do the opposite the next minute.
Well, he doesn't seem to remember that he tore up our deal with Iran.
He lies, and then he denies it, and then there's videotape of him lying, but he doesn't connect to that.
Well, that's why he's so upset over that ad that the, what is they call, Lincoln Republicans put out, Morning in America.
Yeah, I was watching Colbert last night. He played that.
It's a great ad.
Wonderful piece.
It's a great ad, but obviously he doesn't like when his own words are thrown back at him. And the guy that put it together, when he was asked in an interview, because I watched it, that this is driving Trump crazy. What do you think about it? He said, well, if Trump thinks his threats are going to stop us, he's wrong. He says, now we know how to get at him just by throwing his own words at him. And so if people see that, his cult, and that's what they are, a cult, If his cult sees that ad and it's back in their face, how can they still deny it? It's beyond mind-blowing.
Well, how did Jim Jones get all those people to drink the Kool-Aid?
The same way Trump almost got everybody to drink bleach and disinfectant. I mean, how stupid are Americans? I mean, hundreds of calls to poison control and the CDC on whether it's safe or not, and some people actually did do it.
Right. I was just going to say that some people did do it.
How do you teach your children to stay away from those things when the President of the United States is telling you, drink it, and what do you got to lose?
Oh.
I mean, every day, it's not even something shocking anymore, Bev. It's something horrifying.
This is true. This is true.
Yeah, we need to take a
But
short
what
break.
do we do about it? How do we get Congress
I don't
to
know.
act?
I don't know. I don't know.
Teach this guy again and chuck him out of office.
Listen, you published that piece by Ralph Nader where Ralph put in probably 1,000 reasons in one article that they should have impeached him and that the Pelosian gang picked the easiest, stupidest one when there's a million reasons to get this guy out of office. So you have to think to yourself, once again, it's a one-party system. They obviously like having him in office. What else could it be? They're all getting rich on
got
this.
Another problem there called Mitch McConnell.
Right. I know. And he's been in office now, 45 years? And his state is at the bottom of the barrel, and you're going to tell me he gets reelected?
Well, he's been a big money raiser for the party. Many people probably don't realize that. And it's probably one of the reasons he's still in office. Now the question is, can we get rid of him?
Well,
can the so-called Democrats take back the Senate? And if they do, will they do the right thing? There's the bigger question.
Exactly. Or they're going to give us, like Biden said, that reach across the aisle bull crap. Well, Obama tried that for 8 years. He was obstructed by Mitch McConnell from the beginning. Reaching across the aisle didn't accomplish a thing.
Well, Mitch McConnell's thing was that they were out to make sure that Obama only had one term. Unfortunately, McConnell didn't make, he didn't realize that one. Obama
Right.
got a second term.
Right. I must burn them that Obama and Michelle are still two of the most admired people in the world. And I doubt anybody's ever going to say that about the Trumps or the McConnells.
Well, I don't think of him in that way. I mean, he did a lot of things I do not approve of, but that's another issue.
Well, me too. I covered it. I covered the good, the bad, and the ugly, but I never had one president where I think I had maybe one good story in 4 years of something that Trump did that I agreed with, but I can't even remember what it is now because my mind's blown by everything else he's done wrong. Bev, let's take a short break. When we come back, I want to talk to you about the stimulus. So stay with us. Bev and I will be right back. Hi, this is Meria. I don't often get to talk directly to the listeners here on the Gary Knoll Network, but I felt like doing that today. I know a lot of you really enjoy my show, but you might not know that I do 4 shows a week over at my website, meria.net. So if you're loving the show you get to hear on Sunday, come on over to my site and subscribe because I've got hundreds of hours of great shows on pretty much every topic in the universe. And that again is meria.net, meria.net. And now we can get back to this excellent show. Thanks. Okay, welcome back to the show. I'm speaking with Bev Conover. Get over to the intrepidreport.com. There's a live link here. It's just intrepidreport.com. Support the very few real independent news people that are left. Years ago, Bev, there were a lot of us, and they all drank the bleach, and
they
they're
keep
gone.
going down, as you noticed lately.
I know. Well, some of them have said now that they would eat their neighbors if they have to. But I never considered him real news, but an insider. Before we get to the stimulus, deep state, deep state, deep state. We hear Trump talk about that all the time. My opinion, and I want to know yours, is if there indeed is a deep state, Trump has to be part of it or they would have taken him down a long time ago. What's your opinion?
I didn't quite catch that.
Well, Trump is always saying the deep state is after him and he's going to destroy the deep state. If there was a deep state, wouldn't they have taken him for a ride
The
in an
deep
old...
state is out in the open if people could only see it.
Right. I said if that was the case...
The corporations are running things.
Right.
The banks are running things.
Exactly. But he makes it sound like, you remember the old Mad magazine with Spy versus
Yeah,
Spy?
I know there's a bunch of people go on about that. And
Right.
I've got writers who use that term every now and then.
Right. So...
It's only a deep state because the people don't have their eyes open to see what's going on. They're doing their evil right out in the open, and people don't get it.
Exactly.
I mean, it's like the crap about, a business can do better than the government. The government ought to run like business. Well, government is not a business. Government is ours. It belongs there. It's there to help us and do the things we cannot do for ourselves.
Right. Exactly.
And this coronavirus has proved it. Look at the mess. I mean, Bozo says the stockpile belongs to the government, not to the states. And I'm saying, what?
I know. Well, everybody's saying that even though Trump has met with hundreds of governors, everybody is saying that the 50 governors that we actually have, Trump has no idea even how many states there are doing a better job than the president, than the federal government. What say you? I mean, I know you're stuck in Florida with Ron DeSantis. So,
oh my God, don't even mention him. If you thought Scott was bad, this guy really takes the cake.
I wonder if he's sorry that he stole the election. I often wonder about that with him or Kemp and the rest of them, if they're sorry that they even did steal the election. And now they're stuck in charge, if you want to call it in charge. Open the beach, close the beach, not reporting the coronavirus stats anymore. I think that's a DeSantis thing. And yet, like I said, my family in Florida think that they're doing a great job and that Trump is brilliant. He's brilliant.
Great job.
Right. So for my listeners out there, you're not the only one that has hard-headed cultists in your family who still thinks Trump's doing a great job and being a genius, which I now doubt the sanity of my own sisters. But I find I don't even want to talk to them, Bev, because I don't want to get upset. And there's no point talking to them because they only hear what they want to hear.
No, you can't get through. You cannot get through. Unfortunately, you cannot.
Well, everybody could go back to their Bible days. Okay. And who was it that said, don't bother throwing pearls before swine? And I think swine would get this. Even swine is smarter than people that are still believing in this chump. I call him chump, not Trump. All right.
What are they going to do if he wins on closing the post office, getting rid of it?
I don't know. I said to myself when Trump sent, he had to have his name on the checks. But when he issued the checks, he also...
The post office thing is not a joke. I mean, this is scary.
Not. But the post office is a right. It's part of our government. It wasn't ever even shut down during the Civil War. Okay, and here in Arizona, we still have once a year where the Pony Express comes through, and it's a big event. But this guy is just enemies with everything and everybody, okay? And he doesn't really care. But when he mailed out his letter, like you're getting this check because of me, because I'm so great, didn't he have to use the post office to send that? Obviously he doesn't think about things like that, and what would happen? What would happen to the homeless?
He didn't want us to vote by mail, and he voted by mail.
His whole family votes by mail, and a couple of people, Mnuchin and Jared and Ivanka, they're registered in multiple states. They all vote by mail. But you remember a couple of weeks ago, it's hard to remember because every day he comes out with another crazy, bloviating lie, when he said if everybody votes by mail, Republicans will never win another election.
Yep, yep.
So there it was in a nutshell, the admission of how they steal the vote, which you and I have been covering forever. It's boring
But
already.
this guy who wants to open up the country and make it great again like it was a few months ago, he wants to throw nearly 500,000 postal workers out of jobs?
Exactly.
I mean, come on.
First of all, and I know people get insulted when you say it, America was never that great. Ask any Native American and they'll tell you where Trump is now trying to steal more of their land and has given them no help for the coronavirus. Here in Arizona, I think the rate of coronavirus on the reservations is like triple what it is off the reservations. They asked for medical equipment. All they got were body bags. So it goes from white man speak with a forked tongue to orange man speaks with a forked tongue.
And one thing we should not call the money coming from Washington, whether it's to people or supposedly small business, whatever, that is not stimulus money. That is money to help people.
Exactly. Well, come on. Mnuchin said that the American family can live on $1,200 for 10 weeks, Bev. Didn't you know that?
Yeah.
All right. That $1,200 is an average rent in Arizona for a one-bedroom apartment. All right. If it was California or New York, forget it. It'd be more like $4,000 a month. But these people are either out of touch, extremely selfish, cruel. There's a cruelty to Trump that I've never seen before in any president.
But I mean, this is supposed to be support money. Mm. And I am all for giving every American $2,000 a month until this mess is over.
I agree. But listen, they laughed at...
And that's only, even if it lasted a year, what is it, so about $24,000? Hardly enough to live on, but what can I say?
Exactly. Well, but they laughed at Andrew Yang when he proposed universal income. But now they're giving some form of universal income. Well, of course, they're stealing, trillions compared to the $1,200 if you qualified for it.
First of all, if we got rid of the damn Fed and had a real true national bank, mm-hmm. we wouldn't have to worry about deficits. I think Ellen Brown does such a beautiful job.
Oh, yeah.
On what she calls state banks. I got another one of her articles up now.
Oh, yeah, I shared that, and I read some of it on the show, and then I emailed Ellen, and we were going back and forth on it because, years ago, it was 2008, I believe, Bev, I had Catherine Austin Fitz on the show for the 4th of July. How I remember that is, my mind scares me sometimes. She was then doing a take your money out of the big banks movement. And we did a show on why to do that and to go into a state bank or a national bank or a credit union. So when she sent me that article, I wrote her back and said, this is excellent. I'm going to share it and I'm going to read some of it on the show. And I told her about the credit union I'm in. And I said, my credit union literally gave me $400 back in dividends last year. She was blown away. She says, who are you with? And I said, Desert Financial. She looked in her own state. I don't know where Ellen lives. She said, we don't have that here.
California.
Oh, okay. She said, we don't have that here. I said, yeah, but I'm sure you have credit unions where you are. Because with a credit union, they're self-insured. The FDIC has been broke forever. Your money is safer. You're not funding money laundering and drug cartels and child slavery around the world, which is what big banks do. And I remember in 2008 when I went into Big Bank, it was Bank of America, and I told them I wanted my money. I wanted my money out. And, I'm very loud wherever I am, and I made sure it was a busy time where there's long lines in the bank. So everybody could hear why I was pulling my money out. And I did a short brief on the show I had just done. And the manager came out. She was all pissed off. And she says, oh, Miss Heller, haven't we done well by you? Is there something wrong with the customer service? And I get to repeat the whole litany of crazy stuff. And and she just said not one word. She looked at the teller and said, give her a certified check. Now, I remember I took it into the credit union. And this young man is sitting at the desk. And I throw the check on his desk. And he looks at me bewildered. And I said, I want to open an account. And he said, well, can I ask you why? Why you left them to come here? I get to say the whole story all over again, Bev. Well, he goes in the back and brings out a bunch of other young tellers, and he says, sit down, I need you to hear what this woman has to say. So I'm never quiet about anything, and I make my point. It's not enough to take your money out. You need to let them know why. And, I've told people for years, I'm sure you have too, we have two votes that count, your fork and your money. And as long as...
I was fighting my bank for some higher interest, and no way. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to take it over to Discover Bank. I say, I can get close to 2%.
Right.
Well, but they don't have any brick and mortar. I said, so?
So what? Right, exactly.
I took the money. I took it out.
Right, but like you said, Ellen made a great point in her article that these people could, they could benefit from this PPP or whatever you want to call it, CARES Act, and take that money and start national or state banks.
Right.
For me,
I'm with her 100% on this.
I agree. But what about the post office? The post office could go back to doing banking.
What the post office needs again. Remember one time the post office had savings accounts.
Right.
They should go back into that.
And a lot of people don't know. You can get money orders and whatnot at the post office, and the difference...
No, I'm talking about money orders. I'm talking about savings accounts.
Oh, yeah. I know. I covered that with Ellen when she was on the show. They would, there's a lot of people that they're too poor to have in a bank account. Okay? They have nowhere to do their banking.
Right, especially today with all the service fees they want to charge people. If they don't have a balance they can maintain.
Right, and then they want to do negative interest. Okay? Trump talked about negative interest a while ago. So you get punished for keeping your money in there. But there's a lot of homeless people too that they have no street address. They have a P.O. box. Mm-hmm. So where are they supposed to go if the post office is gone? Which I doubt is going to happen. Okay, everything Trump says never happens.
Well, first of all, this thing of passing a bill, was it Obama or Clinton or George W. who signed that thing into law, that the post office has to fund health care for how many years in the future?
Oh, that was under Bush.
This is what made the mess.
Right. Well, don't forget, it was under George W.
It was George W. Okay, I couldn't remember which.
Right, and he was the one that was right after the Patriot Act, who said the post office can now open your mail and read every bit of your mail. And right after that, only up till recently, maybe the past 6 months, the packages I get haven't been opened. But everything was always torn open whenever I went to the post office, because I guess I'm special. If somebody sent me a book or whatever, it had, that extra post office tape on it. We opened this for whatever bullshit reason. And that was George W., okay, who now wants to come out and call for unity against one idiot against the other idiot, dumb and dumber. And what's Trump's response to unity? Because let's face it, Trump is only president of his followers, okay, the southern white people.
Oh, the rest of us don't count.
Right. So he accuses Bush, where were you during my impeachment? Well, I don't think Bush is sitting on the Senate. And it's there was no love lost between the Bushes and the Trumps, as Barbara Bush made it pretty clear. I'm no fan of her either. But it's like the Clash of the Titans, It's like all the worst among us fighting amongst themselves, and the rest of us, 350 million of us, are just left in the dark and left to twist in the wind.
My husband used to say that, and I don't remember which postmaster he said was doing this, the Postmaster General, that at one time they were making great money by regularly printing collector stamps. Uh-huh. So there's another money maker.
Right. Well, listen, I still use the post office. I like, having receipts for my stuff. I like, mailing stuff. And you know what? They got to the point where they thank me when I go in there for buying rolls of stamps or whatever. My granddaughter didn't even know how to write an envelope. To them, the post office was like taking her to Disneyland. She was like, what? You could do this here? They have this, they have that? And I'm like, oh my God. So when I look at this, when we lose our electricity, when the internet goes down, if we get hit with an EMP, whatever they want to call it, you know what? Old school is going to be all we have left. And if they keep destroying it like our factories, we're going to be, again, twisting in the wind. Years ago, I forget who it was. It might have been Paul Craig Roberts I was talking to. And he said something very interesting. I think it was right after 9/11. And he says, Meria, it's not like World War II anymore, where we could convert all our factories to making what we need. He says those factories are gone. If we get hit seriously, it would take 10 years for us to get back online and back to speed.
I have said this for years. It's the same thing with our doggone agriculture, where we pocketed it up instead of, remember, there was a time when states used to raise their own veggies and chickens and eggs and all that stuff. And one time you could only buy certain produce when it was in season. And then we stuck it all, most of our produce out in the Joaquin Valley in California. Mm-hmm. We've polluted North Carolina with hog farms right where it floods close to the ocean. I mean, it just shows you that these people cannot think.
Well, what about globalization? Coronavirus has shown us that we are dependent on getting supplies from other countries and vice versa. That wasn't able to be done even while Trump was shipping 18 tons of medical supplies to China.
Well, imagine we ship all these chickens over to China so they can cut them up and package them and send them back. I mean, does that make sense?
No, of course not. No. Well, listen, I'm glad I'm a vegetarian. But look at all the deregulated, he deregulated all the meat packing companies now. He wants these meat people, even though, they're working in a slaughterhouse, they're falling like flies to the virus. He wants to force them to keep working because he's got to have his hamburgers. He didn't bother forcing anybody to make us any medical equipment, especially for New York. So you got to look at this and say, maybe this is exposing the dark side, the bad side of globalization. Maybe people will get back to, made in America, grown in America. You have the right to know where your food is grown, which of course we don't right now.
And you have a right to know whether it's Frankenfood or not.
I know. God knows how many shows I've done on that as well. It's like to me, when they say fast food, I see that as a total oxymoron because I would never call that stuff food. But these are, like I said, Bev, we're living in interesting times.
But see, this is the stuff that is not being properly covered by the corporate media.
Mm-hmm. At all. They're not covering it at all. It's not
about
we
profit. Make a panic. Now we're going to panic over meat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now let's panic over, murder hornets. Maybe there's only 15 of them.
The other day, I looked down the aisle where all the paper products were supposed to be.
Yeah, empty.
Empty.
It's still empty in my town,
what
too.
What the hell are they doing?
I don't know. What are they doing with it? That's what I keep telling the cashier. I said, well, don't people keep toilet paper in their house? I mean, do they wait? I mean, why is it people need more toilet paper now than they did before? As far as I'm concerned, I don't see that they've listed diarrhea as one of the symptoms of coronavirus.
But I mean, no toilet paper, no paper towels, no wipes of any kind.
Right.
Even the toilet bowl cleaner, they had that all cleaned out. Dish detergent, no dish detergent, that's all gone.
I guess everybody's drinking it.
I'm thinking, what the heck are they, what is going on with people?
And it's a dog whistle. And every day's a new dog whistle. And unfortunately, the people go right for the dog whistle. Pavlov would be proud.
I don't know.
It's crazy days indeed, but if anybody out there's got any paper towel, Send it our way. But you know what? Listen, I grew up poor, Bev, and we didn't ever had paper towel. Okay, you had washcloths and dish towels. What a concept. Okay, so when you start out poor, you learn to do without a lot of things. Tissues was something only the rich people had. Okay, you used a paper napkin if you had to blow your nose.
I mean, all the paper products.
Well, we might have to go back to handkerchiefs.
Oh my God!
Remember that? I mean, I remember we used to have one safety pin to our dress to go to school. But you know, Americans have become very spoiled, so I think this is also showing them things that they could do without, and maybe realizing how much money they waste on stuff they don't really need.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm trying to look for the silver lining. You got to help me here, Bev. Help me here. But anyway,
I think they're being panicked. That's. I mean.
And panic's not going to
accomplish. I don't know what to say. I don't know if you watch it. Cuomo goes on every damn day.
Right.
On and on and on. I don't know if it's good, bad, or indifferent.
I think that he's just he's a very calming presence in comparison to Trump.
And I had a friend say to me the other day, Cuomo for president. I said, oh my God, no. I said, don't you realize the things that this man has done in New York State? I said, yeah, he may be very good at what he's doing right now.
Right.
But I said, you don't want him as president.
Listen, I don't even want a president anymore. I'm over it. It's like the last decent president we had was
see
Kennedy.
How quickly people jump.
Oh, I know. They're desperate. They're desperate for anything but Trump, and yet the polls want to tell us that Trump is leading Biden. So, you know, it's not.
I wouldn't be surprised if Trump got back in.
Well, then it
by
would.
Hook and by crook.
Well, I think it'll all be over by then. We might as well just kiss our asses goodbye.
I mean, we are in such a horrible, horrible, horrible mess. The thing is, we've got to keep our wits and our heads together and not let them destroy us.
Exactly. Got to remember that we're all in this together, and it really is the rich against the poor, and we're all the poor. Okay? People got to get that. I don't care what you got in the bank. You're poor compared to the people running this world.
And you don't know what you're going to, if you have anything in the bank today, you don't know what's going to be in that bank tomorrow.
Well, I know that some major banks only allowing you to take out a certain amount of money now if you go to their machine. So, you know, you got to look at, the writings on the wall. Anyway, Bev, we're out of time. I want to thank you again for joining me and trying to make some sense out of this crazy world we live in. And hopefully...
Thank you, my dear.
Well, hopefully things...
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah. Well, hopefully things will be a little more pleasant the next time you and I talk.
We shall see, eh?
Hope springs eternal. Thanks so much, Bev. I'll talk with you soon.
Alrighty, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bev Conover, Intrepid Report. Yes, we're old enough to remember real history and know what we're talking about. So support the few people out there that are here fighting for you, agreeing with you, and in it with you. Anyway, thanks for supporting my show, and I will see you guys next time.
Thank you for listening and supporting the Meria Show. Tell others what you learned today. Knowledge becomes wisdom only when it's shared. Encourage others to subscribe today. www.meria.net. Often imitated, never duplicated. A world of information all in one place. www.meria.net. Always ahead of the curve. Always on your side. Get active or get radioactive. Subscribe today.